Ravens Rundown coming up in just a few moments. But before we do, we want to make sure that you are a subscriber to Ravens Rundown. We're bringing you daily Ravens videos as we cover everything this offseason. And we're trying to get to 7,000 subscribers on the channel. Still ways to go, 879. And I'll tell you what, if we get to 7,000 subscribers, and I say if, really when would we get to 7,000 subscribers, I'll do the Ray Lewis dance for you. Why not? Hey? Let's do it. Let's get going with today's show. Tyler Jones here with you. Appreciate you joining us here on the Ravens Rundown, powered by Chat Sports, as we look at the Ravens offseason winners and losers. They say in life you can only be two things, either a winner or a loser, and we're about to tell you who those are on this Ravens squad. Let's start out with the good, the winners of this offseason. Got to start out with Kyle Hamilton, who the Ravens selected with their first-round pick. And according to our own Tom Downey, he was the number one player in this 2022 NFL Draft. And I got to tell you, why Kyle Hamilton is a winner for this situation, even though he's the number one player and he did not go in one of those very top picks, he's a winner because he doesn't have to play for one of those crappy teams in the top 10. You're going to a Baltimore Ravens team that's already stacked. It's going to be a playoff contender as is. That's a win for Kyle Hamilton. And you look at the track record for what the Ravens have done with defensive talent over the years. He's going to fit right into exactly what John Harbaugh wants on that defense and will be a natural fit. So Kyle Hamilton, a big winner that you don't have to play for one of those lousy teams that picked in the early picks, and you get to go to a very good team in the Baltimore Ravens from the jump. Another winner, Rashod Bateman, the starting wide receiver for the Baltimore Ravens. He will assume the duties of the number one receiver going forward after Marquise Brown was traded to the Arizona Cardinals, and now we'll need to see his production step up quite a bit. This is a huge opportunity for Bateman that he has to take advantage of as the number one guy. There's no excuses any longer for Bateman not to have a big year. Last year he had 500 receiving yards, just one touchdown. Now is the number one option. He'll need to probably double that receiving yards total, and that touchdown rate has got to come up a lot as well as the number one guy. We want to hear from you guys in the comments section. What type of year will we see from Rashod Bateman? Will he have over 1,000 receiving yards as the number one option for Lamar Jackson? Tell us. Type O for over, type U for under on the receiving yards total for Rashod Bateman in 2022. Now, you're about to get an ad. While the ad's playing, take advantage of it and get your votes in and tell us. O for over, U for under. Along the same lines at the wide receiver position, Tylan Wallace, the former Oklahoma State product, did not play great last year. The numbers were few, far, and in between. And now you have a situation where he can compete for that number 3 or number 4 wide receiver role. And when you look at how thin the receiving core is for the Ravens, if Wallace can't be a top 3 or 4 receiver on this Ravens roster, he can't be it anywhere in the National Football League. It's a huge opportunity for him, as good as it will get anywhere else. He's a winner this offseason because of the opportunity that he's about to receive. Another name, Marcus Williams, who the Ravens brought over from the New Orleans Saints. A big contract for Marcus Williams, 5 years, $70 million to join this Baltimore team. And we talked earlier with the first name that we gave you, Kyle Hamilton, of how he was a winner of what he was stepping into at that safety spot, playing alongside Hamilton, and with everything else loaded on that defense, a lot like what we talked about with Hamilton, you could say the same thing for Marcus Williams. A huge opportunity to play in what is a very good group there on that defensive side of the ball and leading that secondary, Marcus Williams, and getting a nice payday after getting not the money that he wanted in New Orleans. Huge for Marcus Williams there in Baltimore. One more winner for you, and this one a little off the wall. George Godsey, the tight end coach for the Baltimore Ravens, is the last winner I have for you here. And maybe some of you do not know who George is, and that's okay, but let me tell you why George Godsey is a winner this offseason. He was able to get away from the poverty franchise known as the Miami Dolphins, and now he's in maybe the best tight end room in the National Football League there in Baltimore. Mark Andrews leading the way as your number one tight end coming off a big season. Nick Boyle is back on a restructured deal. Charlie Kolar, you drafted out of Iowa State, who was my favorite tight end in this draft. Although that they don't have a whole lot of options at the wide receiver position, Baltimore has a lot of options at the tight end spot. And for a coach like George here that gets to work with that tight end room, that's a dream job right there. So, George, you sneak on my list as a winner this offseason. So, there you have it. Those are my offseason winners. We'll get to the losers in just a moment. But before we do, I want to hear from you guys. Who was the Ravens' biggest offseason winner in 2022? Tell us in the comments section. Give me one name. Doesn't have to be from the names that we gave you there, but I want to hear from you guys of who the biggest winner for the Ravens this offseason was. Now to the losers. Lamar Jackson is a loser this offseason. I know that might catch you off guard a little bit, but let me tell you why. He lost his top receiving target, Marquise Brown, and he was caught a little off guard about it. If you recall on draft night, and the major networks didn't want to talk about the tweet that Lamar Jackson had. You didn't see it from ESPN or the NFL Network. Lamar Jackson, when he tweeted out WTF when they traded away Marquise Brown. He's like, what happened here? And so he's without Marquise Brown now, and he's yet to receive that contract extension. Josh Allen got paid. They were in the same draft class. Lamar Jackson, he's won an MVP, and he's still waiting on that money. And here's the thing. Lamar Jackson will get paid eventually. That day will come. Yes, it will. But for every day that this goes on without him getting that extension means another day that he's prone to an injury or who knows what could happen without that guaranteed money in the future. So Lamar Jackson, pay the man. Get him his money. He deserves it. And get him some receiver help, for goodness sake. Another name is Justice Hill, the running back that is now about number 4, I believe, on the running back depth chart. We'll show you that here in just a second. But, you know, last year the Ravens had so many injuries, and it looked like a big opportunity for Justice Hill, but he suffered an Achilles injury himself. And so now on the depth chart, you see J.K. Dobbins is running back number 1, Gus Edwards, Mike Davis. Justice Hill at this point is hoping just to make the team right now after the opportunity he had last year that was just missed with that Achilles injury. Here's another thing to think about with Justice Hill. He's no longer even the favorite NFL player in his own family now. You got Daxton Hill, the first-round pick from the Bengals, who's going to be a better NFL player than he is. So all of a sudden, not only did you lose your job, but your mom and dad love your brother more than you. That's got to hurt a little bit. So I feel for Justice Hill. He's kind of losing at all fronts here at this point. More losers in just a moment, but before we do, I got to tell you that you need to subscribe to Ravens Rundown. We're bringing you Ravens coverage each and every day on the channel, youtube.com/Ravens TV to subscribe. Turn those notifications on, and we have videos like just what we had the other day, breaking down the entire schedule, every single game from start to finish, giving you analysis. And you can see that right now. If you haven't already, be sure and do so. YouTube.com/Ravens TV. That's YouTube.com/Ravens TV. Couple more names for you. Sam Cook, the punter, who's been there a long time, has had a good career with the Baltimore Ravens. He's on my loser list at this point. And the reason why is that his replacement has already been found. Jordan Stout was picked in the 4th round. Now, personally, I do not like picking special teams players in the draft. That's what the undrafted free agency is for, to find those guys. And the Ravens, for whatever reason, spent high draft capital to replace Sam Cook here. You can't feel good if you're Sam Cook. Probably, I would guess Sam Cook is going to be a candidate to be caught probably after June 1 when it's all said and done. So Sam Cook, not in great shape at this point to hold on to his job when training camp rolls around there, as Jordan Stout, who had a good career, good college career, should have that job. There's no reason to have 2 punters on your roster. Another name, Jawan James, also on this list. He's played in just 3 games since 2019 and missed last season with a torn Achilles tendon. Ja'Juan James, we've seen him be a talented player over the years, but with the way that the offensive line is shaping up for the Ravens, I just don't think that there's a spot for James in the foreseeable future for this roster. So not great news when you consider the injury history and what the Ravens have done to shore up things for Ja'Juan James as far as his future goes. One more name for you, Chuck Clark. Chuck Clark is somebody that had a decent year last year, but now he walks into a situation where the Ravens have stacked up so much at the safety spots with Kyle Hamilton and Marcus Williams and company that Chuck Clark will probably not be on the field every down like he was last year. With the additions that they've made coming off a season with 80 tackles, 2 interceptions, I just don't see that role being as big for Clark as it once was. So there you have it. Those are my offseason winners and losers. I want to hear from you guys. Who was the biggest Ravens offseason loser? Tell me in the comments section below. Give me one name. It could be a name we mentioned, maybe somebody we forgot, maybe somebody that was on the winners list that you thought was actually a loser. I don't know. I want to hear from you guys. Tell me in the comments section who was the biggest offseason loser for the Ravens. So before we go, quick recap on the offseason winners and losers. The winners list includes Kyle Hamilton, Rashod Bateman, Tylan Wallace, Marcus Williams, and tight ends coach George Godsey. The losers list, quarterback Lamar Jackson, running back Justice Hill, punter Sam Cook, Ja'Juan James, and Chuck Clark. Thanks for joining us here on the Ravens Rundown.